2, 3, 5. Hello, everybody. Oh my God, this is Nicholas Tanek from Your Kinky Friends, and I have a magnificent, a wonderful guest with me tonight. Oh, she's really legendary. We're gonna talk about YouTube. We're gonna talk about being kinky. We're gonna talk about being what it is to be a sexologist, keeping kink fun, counseling, couples counseling. Oh my God. And please welcome the YouTube star,
Oh.
Carlos Cavazos.
Cavazos, yes.
Okay, say hi and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. So good to be here with Nicholas and all of you kinky friends. My name is Carlos. I'm a sexologist, licensed psychotherapist, and relationship coach. I'm based out of Austin, but I'm like completely virtual, So I've been doing it like God. It's been a hot minute. So I think by this point I've talked to like thousands of people and couples and relationships, and I've gotten some great experiences with people in the industry. So I'm really excited to tell you guys everything that you guys want to know.
That's great. So okay, we'll get into the
we'll go balls deep.
Ask Carlos, your show, Ask Carlos, is on YouTube. We'll get into the psychotherapy and the sexology. But I always ask, tell us about the first time you were kind of out as a kinky person. Was it with just one person? Was it with, at a party, at a munch, at a dungeon? Or was it just at what?
I don't know. I don't think I ever hit anything. I've always been a very like what you see is what you get, open book type of person. So there was never a moment where I was like, coming out as a kinky person or anything like that. I think anyone that's met me and talked to me, they know that I have a really naughty sense of humor. My idol growing up was Elvira. So
I love her.
Yeah. So everything like as soon as all of my sense of humor has always been filled with innuendos. And when I wanted to become a sexologist after seeing Talk Sex with Sue Johansson, when I was like, I don't know, like 12. So it was never anything that was like, oh, what? Like, I have something to tell you guys. I'm kinky. It's never been anything like that.
Okay. So personal, like kinks or fetishes, regardless. I mean, you tackle it all, and I try to too in my interviews. Everything, stuff I'm not even into, I'll still want to talk about it and understand. Maybe someone else can understand it. But of course, you have your own things. What are some of your personal kind of kinks and fetishes?
I like to dabble in a little bit of everything, and what I really like about my YouTube channel, Ask Carlos, is that it gives me the opportunity to venture into different like realms and kinks and fetishes that I might myself never even thought about. So I get messages from people telling me like, hey, you should try this out, or have you ever thought about this? And I'll just go for it and try it in some way, whether I like it or not, that will remain to be seen. But personally, I love breath play. I think a little erotic asphyxiation just always does it for me. Specification is great. Erotic humiliation. I'm trying to think. I think those are the main ones. But I mean, like I said, I've tried a lot. Right before we did this, I had an interview with an erotic hypnotist talking about, erotic hypnosis. So I'm going to try a little bit of that. I know it's really popular, especially with like sissification, this whole sissy hypno stuff. And it's become a lot more popular, especially like with bondage and discipline. So I'm excited to try that out a little bit more. But I'm like I'm so hyper that it's kind of hard for me to get hypnotized. So
Speaking of hypnosis, my friend Lord Baron, who's a dark hypnosis, and then I got Siren Raina. We're doing a special hypnosis panel next week. I think it's gonna be all three of us, which would be kind of cool.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Take a look out for that. And anybody who is interested in anything when it comes to any kind of kink or fetishes, if they can't, you could find it on Your Kinky Friends. Just as a search box. on there. I tag everything. So if you want to know about hypnosis, type hypnosis. You'll see the article that I wrote with Siren and some other people.
Oh, nice. I'll send you over. The erotic hypnotist that I spoke with, she did a really interesting study on FetLife. Amy Marsh is her name. And I will send you that. I know she sent it to me. She surveyed a whole bunch of people on FetLife that were interested in erotic hypnosis. And it's kind of like a conglomerate of all of her findings.
Oh, wonderful. I'd love to speak with her.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get into the other stuff, let's talk about breath pay, sissification, and humiliation. Mm-hmm. Now, are you giving or getting?
Either. I'm definitely more like a switch when it comes to, well, pretty much anything. I love experiences. So whichever way it is, like, I'm down.
Right on. Okay, yeah, I feel the same way. And that's why I love you and I love your show.
Oh, thank you.
It's like, because we were very similar in our attitudes towards, kink and stuff like that, but also like we want to explore and find out.
And like they say, you can't be a good dom unless you're a good sub. So you gotta get a little into everything.
Okay, so my next question, I think you already answered it though, is like, what inspired you to become a sexologist and a relationship coach? It was from that lecture that you saw?
Yeah, so it was, the show was Talk Sex with Sue Johansson, and it was like a sexpert. It would come out like late at night. I think she's Canadian, but it would come out here in the States like at 1 a.m, something like that. So I was like 12, 13, just watching like this lady with vagina pillows and penis puppets and like talking about all sorts of crazy things that I just found so fascinating. And I knew that I wanted to do that. I just didn't know how. There's no clear-cut ways of how to become a sexpert or how to become a sexologist. So what I ended up doing was I ended up getting a bachelor's in psychology and then a master's in counseling, thinking, you know what, I'll just kind of go down that route because I wanted to work with relationships and couples. So I was like and sexuality. So I knew that I was going to be working in some shape or form with sex. But as soon as I started working with more couples and I would get referrals from other therapists who just did not feel comfortable talking about sex, or people who just didn't know anything about polyamory and things like that. So I started continuing my education, got my my sexology certification. And as I kept going, I started working with a local, it's called Out Youth. It's like a local LGBT organization. So as all that was happening, my friend had previously suggested that I start a YouTube channel. It was going to be more mental health based. I kind of thought like sex is probably like a little too scandalous for YouTube at that time. But I got inspired by a sexologist named Dr. Jess O'Reilly. She did a really good TED talk on being monogamish. And something about that just kind of like inspired me. I looked up YouTube and some other channels and I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to make it full blown, like all about sex and relationships. And yeah, here I am.
Wonderful. So let's talk about Ask Carlos.
Yeah.
Now, I can describe the show, but I think it's best if you do. So how would you describe it's a show you have, you produce it and everything like that. Like I said, before we talked, it's like, yeah, you have titles on your show, graphics and stuff. I'm lo-fi punk rock style. Both styles are great, but how would you describe Ask Carlos?
I would describe it as like a walk through a sparkly cotton candy sex dungeon type of thing, So what I do is I make videos on specific topics. I'll make videos and series on a particular kink, like adult baby diaper lovers. So what I'll do is I'll have a video on the topic. I'll react to porn on YouTube, which is sometimes gotten me a little bit of trouble, but I'll react to the porn. And then also I'll usually kind of give some like a how-to if I can. And if possible, I will try out that kink myself. So those are my more produced videos, which take a lot longer and it's very time consuming to do those videos. And then like about every 2 weeks, I do live streams on YouTube where I answer, for the most part, I just answer viewer questions. They'll send me any sort of like sex or relationship question, and I'll answer those then. And in between, so I'll do one of those, and then the other time that I do a show, it'll have a topic. So I'll have a topic, and the whole hour will be based around that topic.
Okay. So doing that, first of all, the watching porn got you kind of in trouble. What, got you flagged or something?
Surprisingly, not so much, but it's more of like people within the community. It also just depends on what that community is. So like with the adult baby diaper lovers, that one was pretty, it was such a very welcoming community, I must say, for one, so not much from there, but the furry community, which already has like a lot of stigma that they're fighting, they see something like someone reacting to porn, and then everyone's like, oh my God, that's not what the furry community is about, and you're giving the furry community a bad name and all this stuff. But the reality is that if that porn wasn't existing, I wouldn't be reacting to it online, so it is an aspect of the furry community, whether some people want to admit it or not. And I do point out that it's not what the furry community is all about. Like I interviewed a whole bunch of people within the furry community. I went to a furry convention, which is a lot of fun. So I really give all sides of a certain like kink or fetish, and I also present like any sort of psychological research on stuff like that. But yeah, sometimes people, if they like, we're kind of similar with the ABDL, where not everyone does it for sex, so the people that don't do it for sex, they feel like, oh no, you're giving my kink a bad name. So I don't necessarily get in trouble from YouTube per se. They'll age restrict me and stuff like that, but it's more from people who are in that subset of the community that don't sexualize that particular activity.
Okay. Yeah. So now what's funny is that you mentioned furries. I'm very good friends with a furry who's I'm not going to mention their name, but he's a dragon, and
a scaly. They're called scalies.
Oh, that's what that. What's it called? Okay. And yeah, he's totally asexual.
Okay.
He's totally asexual. So yeah, not everything about furries is about sexuality.
Right.
It's
with a lot of kinks too. You have to be like, when you really think about it, a lot of like BDSM activities don't involve any sex at all. So it's interesting.
Yeah. All right. I want to go back to breath play now. What advice would you give to somebody? Because there's a safety issue when it comes to that.
Yes.
So what advice would you give to somebody who really doesn't have that much experience either receiving or giving, breath play?
Well, I mean, it would really fall in line with any other like thing that you're trying out, and that especially if you're on the receiving end, the main thing that you want to do is find someone that you trust. Like I can never stress that enough. Sometimes people are like, oh, I met someone and they're into it, so I'm going to do it. It's like, you haven't even talked with them. You don't even know like what that person is really like. You don't know if they're going to respect your safe word. They don't know if they're going to respect your boundaries or anything like that. And if you're like, I really want to try, getting choked in the bedroom, and your first experience is with someone who doesn't know what they're doing and they're not respecting your boundaries. If you're trying to like give, in that case, it's usually a nonverbal cue and they don't respect that, then it's kind of ruins it for you, So it's something that you're doing because you want to have fun with it, and then you end up traumatized and think like, okay, that I'm never doing that again. But you still have that urge and deep inside where you're like, oh, but something about it just excites me. But you just had such a bad experience that it completely ruins it for you. So you make sure that it's with someone that you trust, and developing a plan A, plan B, plan C for everything. And I always advise this to anyone, regardless if it's something that if it's a client that I'm working with on a relationship or on sex or just like on depression, whatever. It's plan for every possible scenario That way you can be prepared for it. And if something goes wrong, you have like a plan for that. So safety first. And the more that you learn about it, learn about that kink, learn about the all like safe words, learn about learn about that other person, most importantly, I think, because if like I said, if you give your trust to someone who doesn't deserve it, then it's just going to give you a really, it's going to put your life in danger, and also your sex life in danger too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I also like work, especially because you can't use a safe word when you're doing breath play.
Yeah.
You can breathe.
Nonverbal communication,
There's,
so
yeah,
like a hand
like
sign, yeah. Mm-hmm.
some kind of signal, like
Yeah.
like bang your foot 3 times or something like that, or
Exactly. And practicing it too, practicing it with someone, because when you're in the heat of the moment and someone is like, banging you and they're choking you and they're like so close to orgasming and they're not used to it. And it's like the first time that you've tried it, they'll probably miss that signal, So having like a little practice run, a couple of practice runs where you try out like, okay, like pretend like you're choking me. And then I will do I'll snap my finger 3 times. That way you can already start preparing for it mentally. And when you're in the heat of the moment, it brings you back to that place where you practiced it.
Interesting. Okay. Now, now, as on your channel, right? What would you say? I mean, I love every episode I do.
Oh, thank you.
Of yours.
Thank
and
you.
I love every episode that I do of mine. But some are just like some of my absolute favorites.
Your mercenary mistress. Oh my god, I love that so much.
I love, shout out to Mercenary Mistress. She's paddling. No, she's
yeah. I didn't even notice that her sub was behind her until like a little later in the video, and then she starts. It was so hilarious.
She has this beautiful smile. And you could tell how happy she is and how
she's a lot of fun. I sent her a message. I was like, I need to talk to you, Mercenary Mistress. Crossing my fingers.
Oh yeah, I'll introduce you. You can have my reference. Definitely. Yeah, but we did a sadism episode, right? We did a sadism episode with Chloe Rose, Mistress Chloe Rose, and Mixed Tricks. They're friends. They've done things together, scenes together, and stuff like that.
I saw that one too. Mixed Tricks is another so hilarious. Such a great like personality. I think when she was talking about starting off with scat, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, and Luna, who's a submissive, right? But for some reason, she likes to dom me, and and her snap is harsh. She's brutal. So yeah, she was paddling me when we were doing the word association game. But out of your shows, out of your episodes for Ask Carlos, what are like 1 or 2 of your favorites, your all-time favorites?
My favorites, the penis cake sitting one was one of my favorites for sure. It was my birthday, and I was like, I have a list of ideas of things that I want to try, or like I have like a folder with any messages that people have sent me with like tips and ideas. And I was going through them, and I saw splashing, and I thought like, oh, you know what? My birthday was coming up, and so I was like, I might as well make a cake and just try cake sitting, which is kind of like it's a subcategory of splashing, but it's more kind of like it's like diet splashing in a way, It's not like super messy. It's kind of like just the tip. So I thought I might as well do that, and I was like, how can I kind of make this a little like funnier? How I can make it more fun? Then I thought, you know what? I will make a penis cake. I'll decorate it. I'll make it while I educate the public about what splashing is and what the wet and messy fetish and cake sitting, and I decorate it. And then at the end of the video, I sat on it, which was the first time that I've ever did any kind of splashing or like food play or cake sitting. And that was probably one of my favorite videos. Aside from that, The erotic mummification video was a lot of fun. I really liked the way that one came out. But see, it's like one of those things where when you're creating something and you're editing and you're adding in like graphics and things, you just fall. It's like your baby, you know? So
Yeah.
the more that like the recent one is always one of your favorites. So it's a little harder. I'm only thinking of the recent ones, but if I have to think back, I also like the Erotic Heritage Museum in Las Vegas. I went and did a video over there, and that was just a great experience. Such a great museum, and it had just so much. I had so much fun over there. So it was a favorite filming that video. In terms of whether that, I love that video too. So it's hard. It's hard to pick.
In New York, if you're ever in New York, have you ever gone to the Museum of Sex in New York?
No, but I need to. You know, my twin brother lives over there, so the next time that I go visit, I'm gonna definitely be hitting that place up.
I don't know if they still do it, but they have Jello shots in the form of boobs.
I love it.
Yeah, it's really good. So yeah, let's talk about keeping kink fun. I love your attitude. I seriously, and I try to keep it the same way. I feel good about myself if I make others laugh. I feel good about myself when I'm laughing with other people. I like to keep things fun. An example of the way I kept something fun. First of all, I live with my dom, right, and she's never submissive towards me in the bedroom, and we don't have a full-on dom.
Is it Luna? Is it
no.
Was it the one spanking you? And
Luna's a submissive, actually.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, we all play together, and so Melissa is, so Luna bought me a bunch of violet wand attachments.
Oh,
right. Yeah, the violet wand. I highly endorse it.
Yeah, I've only tried that once, and
not violet wand, not violet wand. The Hitachi magic wand.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the Hitachi magic wand. I highly endorse. I endorse the violet wand too. Shout out to Dr. Clockwork. He makes custom made ones. Yeah, but so I took some leftover hospital restraints I've had and tied, Miss Melissa to the bed and put on. She's like a vet tech, so she's got scrubs. So I put on scrubs, and I have a stethoscope. So I put a stethoscope on. I put on. I don't wear glasses, but I do have reading glasses. Which I never use. But I just for effect, and and I had a notebook pad and a clipboard and a tray, and I had every single attachment. There was like 6 of them. And I acted like I was a doctor, like a research doctor. We're laughing the whole time, and we found the best attachment out of the.
I love that.
And it was fun. So, what are some ways, some creative ways, in your opinion, to keep kink fun?
Well, I would say the first, because not everyone is into kink for fun,
Of course,
so I think the first step would be working through any of the shame that you maybe have in reference to like one of your kinks or any of your fetishes. A lot of the times when people start off with kinks or fetishes, they've been taught that what they're doing is wrong, or that it's crazy, or it's sick, or whatever. So when people start off with like actually engaging, getting their feet wet, a lot of the times it's kind of like they feel guilty about it. There's almost like a darkness to living out that fantasy. During the moment they really enjoy it, but afterwards, sometimes they really beat themselves up over it because they just hadn't really worked out like any of like why they have like shame around it or any of that stuff. So that would be the first thing is, kind of work through any sort of guilt or shame that you have in regards to your kink, because there's nothing. I mean, as long as you're not hurting anyone, and it's everyone's like a consenting adult, there's nothing that you can do that is like wrong. That's all in whoever any other person's mindset. If they want to look at it as wrong, that's fine. But in reality, there's nothing that anyone can do that is really wrong, as long as they're not hurting anyone and everyone's consenting. So once you work through that and just allow yourself to have fun, then you can start just having fun with it, because you're not going to feel guilty afterwards. You're not going to beat yourself up over it and think like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I love to be slapped around and called a little whore. Like there must be something wrong with me. So it sucks the fun out of that. If you can make peace with enjoying being slapped around and called a whore, then afterwards you think like, oh my God, that was so much fun. I cannot wait to do it again. And you look forward to it. So next time that you go into it, like there is this energy, this excitement, which like makes things so much more fun and playful.
Definitely. No, that's a good way to look at it. It's a great way to look at it. And with the whole shame thing, I noticed that a lot with closeted cross-dressers.
Right.
Like how they purge, like they have a collection of like panties or women's clothes, then they end up throwing them away or something, like throwing everything away, and because they feel shame after. And some of it could be due to like religion, it could be due to society. Right. It could be whatever.
That's why femdom and like cuckolding are so popular, because it gives someone the opportunity to engage in something that they've been wanting and fantasizing about, and just kind of longing for, but it takes the responsibility off of their hands,
Yeah, so, especially like forced feminization, it takes the choice. And one thing, I mean, I'm a switch myself, but one thing I love about femdom and being submissive is that I don't have to make decisions.
Right.
I don't have to make decisions at all. And that's something. So speaking of, gender, being, there's so many terms and there's so many things. There's so many pronouns, and you never know. We were talking about Jet Cat, in her episode, or in the transgender episode, we were talking, it was like, there's nothing wrong with just asking what you identify as. Some people don't care. Somebody's like, I'm just a human being, or I'm gender fluid. There's he, she, them, they. There's cis male, cis female. There's gender fluid. There's just lesbian. Male homosexual. And the list goes on. There's just queer. There's for somebody who, first of all, let me ask you this: what do you identify yourself as?
I definitely identify myself as more like non-binary, gender non-conforming. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's non-binary. Yeah. That's another thing. And so for someone who really like doesn't know all the different pronouns and terms and everything like that, what would you say to somebody on how to approach another person, who and they don't know, the person asking doesn't know, how the other person identifies themselves? How would you, what kind of etiquette would you suggest? What kind of, proper way to find out, so to speak?
Oh, to find out what that person's gender is?
Yeah.
Yeah, just ask, hey, what are your pronouns?
Okay.
Don't make a big deal about it, and it won't be a big deal.
That's what Jet said, actually. Shout out to Jet Cat and Wildfire. Check out the transgender special that we did. It's amazing. It was great. It was a good time. Okay. So, counseling. So, now, of course, you can't say anything, because of confidentiality, of course. But, when it comes to counseling, what are some steps someone who feels that they need counseling, with something sexual, but they've never been to a therapist at all? They have no experience. What advice would you give them?
I would tell them to do a lot of research. The most important thing is having a good fit, having a good match. And I actually have a video on how to choose the right therapist for you. So if anyone's interested in that, they can just hop over my channel. I give a lot more, go very in depth into, the questions that you should be asking yourself. But ultimately, it's just do your research, look at the prospective therapist, go through their websites or social media, any blog posts, any videos that they might have, and see if they if like their worldview aligned with yours. Because I know like a lot of, and listen, I understand that not everyone has to agree. I don't agree with everything, like all my clients' worldviews or whatever, but there has to be, you know, some basic like comfort level in knowing that like the therapist that I'm seeing is believes in polyamory. You know, can you work with a therapist who does not believe in polyamory on your polyamorous relationship? Yes. Will you probably have a better experience with a therapist who actually believes in what you're doing? Most definitely, you know, so make sure that that person is in line with what you're looking for. And also, it's especially with something sexual, there is a kink aware professional website, and that's for anything, not just for therapists. I know like a lot of sex workers, if they don't know how to do their taxes, you know, and they need to find someone who can guide them to do the taxes, and you know, considering that they do like cam work or a dominatrix, they can find a professional in that kink-aware professional directory. So they can just do your research and make sure that it's someone that you vibe with. A lot of therapists will offer, they should at least offer like a free 15-30 minute like consultation just to see if it's a good fit for you. So take up any of those offers.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, and you know, and it goes. You're right. It goes beyond just sex, especially because, you know, I used to do a ton of drugs, you know, so obviously I had to deal with that through therapy, and I doing drugs, you have to deal with friends, and finding a counselor or a therapist, or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, you know, that really truly understands and fits. That is the probably the most difficult part.
Yeah.
Before the
Well, it was the most difficult part, but now with the internet, you know, it's just so easy. If you don't find a therapist that's like a good fit for you, you're just not looking. You know, with all the tools and all the resources that we have these days, you can find that perfect therapist for you. Also, figuring out what kind of therapist that you want. You know, like, do you need someone who's more substance abuse? Is it someone that, like, if you're going through, you know, and in those initial 15-minute consultations, just finding out what they think about it. Like, personally, I'm not a big fan of like Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, it's not something that like I personally think like, oh yeah, like that'll do the trick for you. I'm more of there's an underlying issue that we probably could work on. So I would probably be a horrible therapist for that person. But if that person thinks like, you know what, Alcoholics Anonymous is the thing that's going to do it for me, and they can ask that therapist like, hey, I've been considering Alcoholics Anonymous. How do you feel about that? If that person, like that therapist, is on board, then you think like, okay, this is probably going to be a better match for me.
Okay. And okay, there's something called, since you know you're reading the book, Your Kinky Friends, there's a whole thing about my drug counselor. There's a whole chapter of it that I think you can find like insane. So and it's all true. It's all true. Okay, so there's something called transference that happens.
Yeah.
And a lot of time, like I know it's like The Sopranos, you know, just an example. I don't know what I'm not saying Sopranos is the perfect thing about therapy or anything. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying it's horrible. I'm not saying it's great, you know. But Tony Soprano goes see a therapist because he's having panic attacks, and then he ends up like falling in love with the therapist because, you know, and she's not in love with him, but because she's been so helpful, you know. So does that happen with you?
Not in that particular way. I'm very solution focused. So it's very kind of like no nonsense, straight to the point. Like, what is going on? What are the barriers to what's going on in your life? You know, how can we get you into the direction that you want to go in? So, I mean, I think with a therapist that is more like, let's talk about your like childhood and let's like go into your past and really talk about all these things, then maybe, you know, like I can see how that can probably happen. But I'm like a very dynamic type of therapist, so it's always kind of like, you know, I'm not afraid to say things that you might not want to hear. I'm granted sometimes there's the things that I know that person's not ready to hear, so I won't say it. But if I know that that person's ready to hear it and it's something that's a little bit harsh, then I will say it, you know. So, and it's always really, really solution focused. And so I don't think there's ever been a time. Now, are there clients that are flirty, yeah, definitely that happens. But as long as you just keep moving in the right direction, that's not really a problem. I mean, I've had problems with like people being like maybe like inappropriate and flirty and stuff like that. But some you can just kind of like talk about it, with a transference. So when something happens, it's important to talk about it. I've had people like put things on me, like maybe they think that like I don't like them, that kind of happens probably like a lot more.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so then it's like, okay, well, let's talk about that. Like what is it that's making you feel this way, and it's usually someone that maybe has like they are always feeling like they let people down, so there's always like, oh, I think you were mad at me, or I thought that you were like upset with me and stuff like that, where I'm like, no, but let's talk about why you even think that,
Yeah,
because if you kind of dig in a little bit, you will find like a little key ingredient to the puzzle of like helping them break through, which is really like all therapies, like the main thing is getting through those breakthroughs.
Okay. So now, throughout the years, therapy used to be in person, one-on-one stuff. Would you say, and a lot of it's now going either online or over the phone or stuff like that. Like there's something called BetterHelp, which is an online, relatively inexpensive.
Yes, very. I offer some services there as well because of that, because I just think it's such a good, such a great value, and it attracts people in like rural areas that probably would never go to counseling. It's great, and they match you up with therapists and stuff like that.
Yeah. So would you say now these days do you do in-person sessions?
Not anymore. Mm-mm.
Oh, so it's all online?
It's all online, yeah.
Is it all video, or is it just sometimes
it's all, well, for the most part. Sometimes it's phone based, and it really just like it depends on the person. So with counseling, I'm kind of like scaling back on the counseling and focusing more on like coaching and like sexology kind of direction. So I talk with people from all over the world, and some people are in places where they don't have like a good internet connection, so it'll be like a phone session with them. But it's either phone or video for the most part.
Okay. But you also do couples counseling.
I do.
And then one of the things that, I mean, just like my friends who are couples, if they're having a big argument or something like that, and like they ask both at the same time, like, together, ask like for advice from me or from other friends, it's like, that's exhausting. So what are the, I mean, and I love them and I want to help any way that I can, but what are the challenges that you face when it comes to couples counseling?
The headaches. And it was funny because when I started out, so I've always, like, when I first started out counseling, I wanted to make sure that I could handle anything. So at the very beginning, I was like, I want to work with the most severely mentally ill people that, like, in this area. So I worked with exactly that population in the beginning, while I was like getting my hours and stuff like that. But I needed to get a supervisor to supervise my hours, and I had interviewed with one, which I thought was just so perfect. And at that point, she ended up going with someone who was more mature, like I was relatively young at that point, and something didn't work out with them. So she ended up like messaging me once I found that job where I was working with the most severely mentally ill people in San Antonio. And she reached out to me. So I started working in her private practice, mostly with couples and individuals. So I was going like from the intensity of, it was case management, where you go to the most severely mentally ill people's houses and help them out there. So I was going from that like Monday through Friday. And then Saturday mornings, I would be in a screaming match with the couples in private practice. So that can be like a huge challenge. Now it's all online, so you don't feel that energy as much, but it's still really like it's a lot, to have like that intensity and people just yelling at each other and kind of like cutting through that noise, and because sometimes you have to let them like just clear the air and get all that out their system. But sometimes it just keeps going. Like it's gotten to such a toxic place that their communication is to yell at each other, and that can be really, really heavy to take on.
Oh God! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Okay. Speaking of relationships, and you don't have to give like real crazy details or anything like that, but are you in a personal relationship now?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Really? With and what is that dynamic like?
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah,
It's like a regular dynamic. I'm like a very kind of like a more like a bratty type of person, I think, in relationships. So maybe there's like a little bit of that, but for the most part, like it's just like a really good, healthy relationship where there's no like there's no. I've never been in a healthier relationship, so it's a good dynamic. Thank goodness.
Now you are, which is great. Okay, and how do they identify themselves?
Bi, and so this is cisgender and bi male.
Oh, okay, and okay. So, and I'm always curious about this. I mean, obviously, the person is, kinky enough. Let's put it that way, So, and I'm always curious about how kinky people meet. So how did you two meet?
It was it was online, but I'm always a kinkier person, I mean, now that I'm working with this population, I'm probably like the most vanilla person I know. But for the most part, I'm kind of like a kinkster. I'm the kinkier one.
It's funny that you say that because like we both have our own shows, we both have our own things going on, and as both of us get more popular, there are people we get some questions. Right now, please don't say identify the person, but which you wouldn't anyway. But what are some of like the wildest questions you got? Because like, yes, you are a sexologist, and I am not certified or anything like that, but I've seen a lot. I've talked to a lot of people. You know what I mean? So like, what are some of the most interesting, let's put it that way, interesting questions that were asked?
The most interesting questions that I've been asked. That's like one of those really hard questions to answer because the more, I'm like at a stage in my career where there's nothing that I find like shocking. There's nothing that I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you asked me that. So it's kind of like a hard thing. I don't think I've ever really been asked any. There's been maybe some comments or some questions where I just think like really, but nothing too like specific. I think the worst would be I get worse questions in my personal life than I do like professionally, and that's going with someone who is like more non-binary. Like a lot of the like especially dating and stuff like that, it's mostly like just being sexualized in a lot of ways. So there's like people will just send you questions like straight out the bat. They'll ask you like super sexualized questions, and those are kind of like, wait, like I don't even know you, so in those cases, yeah, those are a little shocking.
Yeah, what's funny, I get, because I interview a lot of dominatrixes, and like the dominatrixes I interview, like they're human beings and they're cool. They're but every once in a while I'll get a dominatrix who's just like, you have to tribute me. You're my slave now. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't even know you.
They're trying to fin on you.
yeah. You know what I mean? So, speaking of kinks and everything like that, the kink hole rabbit hole goes deep, and you and I are around kinky people all the time, talk to kinky people all the time, and are constantly learning new things.
Yeah.
Right. And there's certain things that I'm into now that I never thought I would be into like 10, 15, 20 years ago. I never thought I would own a custom made, expensive metal chastity device. Never thought I'd own that. Or a real straitjacket, which I got for Christmas. You know, so the kink, like I said, the kink rabbit hole goes deep. Are there any new things that I mean, you probably know about, but that you are either just trying out or that you're just curious about?
At the moment, no. So if anyone is watching and they want to like shock me or whatever, send me your ideas. Before that, it was the ABDL lifestyle and kink. That was one of the harder ones that I like just had a hard time wrapping my head around it, and now that I've talked to so many people, I put on a diaper myself, like on one of my videos, and just learned a lot more about it. It makes more sense to me. But that was probably like, and it's still, I would still say that, like, and not necessarily the role play aspect of, like, of being like little and being a caregiver. Like, I kind of get that, because in a lot of ways relationships do that already, with the baby talk and stuff like that. It's like a very tame version of like an ABDL relationship. But what I still don't get is like, crapping in your diaper. And I actually mentioned that in the video where I do try on the diaper. And I really was going open-minded. I was like, if anything, I'm gonna just try to piss in it, And when it came down to it, like, I just couldn't. And I left that experience still not knowing like what makes people, what people enjoy about, soiling their diapers. If someone wants to explain that to me, by all means, hit me up.
Well, you know what? If my friend Amy Mercury, who's been on the show several times, she does clown porn. She also writes a graphic novel called Orc Girl, which is an erotic graphic novel.
Mm-hmm. I love me a little colorophilia. That's what it's called.
She but she does videos and where she like pisses in diapers and stuff like that. But she's also at the same time, she does other videos where she's a strict mommy, so shout out to Amy Mercury, we love you. And okay, so BDSM on a budget. Now, I highly recommend that if you have the money, support quality BDSM products, but not everybody has the money and they still want to be kinky. And I'm not just talking about products. I'm talking about the mind and the body. You know what I mean? So what are some ways that you could still be kinky, but not have to spend any money or much money?
Little money. Well, I always suggest to people to look up like pervertibles. There's a lot of great video. I should probably make one. There's a lot of great videos, a lot of great like websites, a lot of great blog posts on pervertibles, which is essentially just like finding any like objects around the house and incorporating that. Like this fan, this could go into sensation play where you like rub it around the naked body, maybe for some like sensual domination. At the same time, this could also be used for impact play if you wanted to. So just kind of getting creative. I think going online and looking at what other people are doing will sometimes spark that creativity in front of, like, in your mind. But sometimes just looking at things in front of you, like, I'm sure someone would probably like put a female condom on this and sit on it, Why not,
You need the sound.
Yeah, I would love to hear that sound now that I think about it. And also, there's so many, like, if you have like a really low budget and you don't mind waiting, like Wish has a lot of like really cheap, it's nothing that you get from there is going to be amazing. But if you're just starting off and you want to see if that's something that you're into and you don't want to break the bank, you can get like a little $25 like BDSM starter kit and wait, like you'll get it like in eternity, but at least you won't spend that much and you get to see like what it is that you like and what you don't like and the things that you do like. Then you can, when you have time and you have the resources, then you can start like making things a little bit more luxurious.
That's that. You know what?
Amazon has some really cheap stuff too.
Yeah, my dom has her ruler from the 3rd grade.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and that thing hurts. God damn, that hurts.
I was looking for one because I'm doing, like I was telling you earlier, I'm doing a femdom video after this. It's going to be like a how-to, so I kind of wanted to do like a little like femdom school, like little scene, but I don't have anything, so
Oh, I definitely.
I had like a whip and stuff like that, you know, like this is the basic stuff, but not like a school teacher type of ruler which is what I was looking for, like a yardstick or something like that.
I still think there should be a femdom cooking show.
I love that.
And yeah, where like the sissy cleans up,
mm-hmm. You know, Dr. Victoria Hartman, you can find her on Twitter at Dr. Victoria. She had started a great YouTube channel called Naked Baking, and she's the director of the Erotic Heritage Museum. And I think the Erotic Heritage Museum was also kind of like backing that up. And they would have like a porn star or someone naked, like a dominatrix or a stripper, and they would bake while her and I think like some his name slips by me, but they would talk about like sex research and stuff like that. And they got booted off of YouTube because they were saying like they were doing more of scholarly type of information, and a lot of the information that they were giving was not in line with the current like, you know, social justice trends. So like you were mentioning, where people would just flag stuff like financial domination, you know, like people don't like it, they're like, oh my god, this is abuse or whatever, so they'll flag it, and they got their channel taken down. Luckily my FinDom video is still up, so
oh yeah, quick question. Someone just texted me who's watching. She didn't see the cake sitting video, but were you wearing underwear or not?
No, I wasn't.
Oh
well, I did, and I just pulled it down a little bit, so you'll see it. Like you see most of my butt.
Okay, right. Great. So okay, rapid fire recommendations. They don't usually go rapid fire. We always go on tangents, and they don't have to be kink related or sex related. Okay. Recommend a film.
Well, the last one I watched is kink related. Probably was shocked to no one, but it was on Amazon Prime. It's called Interview with the Dominatrix. It was so good. I thought it was great. It was like so to the point. It just focused on like a couple of like I think 2 or 3. So it's not like it wasn't going all over the place. It really got you to spend time with them and learn about like their experiences. And I thought that was a great documentary. And I know it's on Amazon Prime. I don't know if it's on anything else, but yeah, it's called Interview with the Dominatrix. I thought that was
really watch that tonight.
It's so good. It's so good.
There's a great documentary called Fetishes. Yeah, you could probably find it on YouTube.
I think I've seen it.
Yeah, it takes place in New York. It's from the Pandora's Box. It's like from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really that's a great documentary. Also, I highly recommend Secretary. Is a great movie.
Right, yeah. I haven't seen that in a hot minute. I need to watch that again.
That's good. Matrice, which is a French movie, which is great. They really in the movie they nailed the penis to a board. And,
oh my god!
And I'm surprised. I'm there's a bunch of people that I interviewed who have done that. You know?
Well, you know how like after you watch something, you get like all these recommendations. So after I watched that the Interview with the Dominatrix, there was like a whole bunch of like super low budget movies. The trailers were hilarious. I mean, I can't say I recommend them because they look terrible, but I gotta give them props for doing it. You know, I think there was one that was like a serial killer like escort or something like that. I don't know, but I thought that was hilarious.
Okay. Recommend a song.
A song. I'm like, what have I been listening to lately? Well, I guess the last song that comes to my mind because it was the last one I heard, like a Doja Cat, Say So. It's got like a really good groove. I can definitely see it like in a more like sensual, like lovemaking type of, kind of kinky song.
Interesting. I'm gonna check that out. I love music. Like my record collection is insane.
Oh, nice.
All right, recommend a book.
Any
kind of book.
A book. I'm like the last book I read was a kink related. Oh no, actually the last book I was reading was a Jessica Simpson autobiography, which was really good. Definitely a page turner. But aside from that one, there is a book from Dr. Justin Lehmiller called "Tell Me What You Want," and he like surveyed like 4,000, I think, like Americans about like their sexual fantasies, and he put it all together in a book, and it's got a lot of interesting information.
Interesting. Okay. So,
The Jessica Simpson book has a lot of interesting information too.
You're still married to that 98 Degrees guy?
No.
Oh, okay. So, so, okay. Recommend a television show.
A television show. You know, this actually probably shocks a lot of people because I'm constantly working with like drama, you know, but I love like trashy reality TV. Vanderpump Rules is like, and all Real Housewives of anything. So I guess I would recommend that.
There's a spoof on first of all, there's a couple spoofs on reality shows you might like. One of them is called Burning Love, and it came there. Another one came out on Hulu. I don't think it's called Real. I think it's just called like Housewives of Atlanta.
Oh, the Hot Wives.
Hot Wives, yeah, that's good.
I saw one and I liked it, but then I couldn't help but think like the reality show is the same thing.
Yeah. But
and even more ridiculous. It's
yeah, because it's true, because it's reality
for the most part. I think.
Recommend a meal.
A meal. I would have to say mole. That's my favorite meal. I love mole. Yeah, love that.
What is that? I've never heard of that.
It is a Mexican dish. It's like it's like chicken and it's covered in a sauce, which it's kind of like. Have you ever had like Indian food? Like
love Indian food.
Yeah. It's kind of like similar to what is like the red one? You know that red kind of like curry, like masala. I'm not sure which one, but it's like a sauce and it's like a chocolate base. So it's spicy and like a little bit of like chocolatey. It's like really interesting.
Interesting. Oh, I gotta check. Say that again. What is that?
It's mole. Spelled like mole.
Oh my god! I gotta try that.
You probably have. It just didn't know.
Well, seriously, I have a thing for food. I am not the white guy meat and potatoes person. New Jersey, New York is very, very diverse. So when it comes to Indian food, oh my god, everything from ragged patties to mosa chat to
I had a really good mole. There was like a restaurant like right outside of like the what is it, like the Lincoln Center? Like there's like I think like a block away, like in front, there was like a really good Mexican restaurant. Got a really good mole there.
Oh, I'll definitely check that out. That sounds awesome. I love Mexican food. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's so good. And I'm in Texas, so but oddly enough, it's the food that you find in Texas. Like it's more like Tex-Mex. So I'm from the tip of the border, so it was practically Mexico. Oh my god, I just miss those tacos and I miss that food so much.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so wonderful. And then I've been eating a lot of Peruvian food lately.
Oh, that sounds good. I don't think I've ever had that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There's some good stuff. Okay. All right. Now we come to I don't know if you know about this. Well, you do know about this because you know about the mercenary. You know about mercenary.
Oh yeah, when she was banging, like you were the free association. Yes.
So this is the word association game, and we have two rules. The first rule is say the first thing that comes to your head. If I say chastity, you may say lock. But if you're talking about if I say chastity and you're thinking about mole, say mole. There's no wrong answer. We can get really absurd and silly. All right. Second rule is we don't kink shame. I'm going to say something, and because you are a sexologist, we're going to go deep.
Okay, let's do it.
And it could be a word or a phrase. You say, but if I say something you're not into, just, and I don't think you would do it, but but I say it anyway.
Right.
Just you're not into it. Just say not my thing. Don't make fun of it or don't act disgusted, whatever. Now, keep in mind that everything's off the top of my head too.
Okay.
This is, I don't have the questions written out. I don't have the things written out.
Oh, so you're going to do it too?
Yeah, we're on the same plane.
Okay, great. I love it.
Right? And then there's the jar. Tangle Blue, I love you. We have a very weird, absurd sense of humor. And I don't know what's in this jar. I don't know what I'm pulling out. And she wrote little pieces of paper. And she wrote little things. Some of them are kink related. Some of them are straight nonsense. Okay. All right. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Strap in. You got your helmet on.
I got my drink on, my strap on.
Okay, let's go. And with that being said, the first one is strap-ons.
Strap on, femdom.
Okay, riding crops.
Riding crops, Amp. I want to say Amp. There's like a YouTuber named Amp from What's a Safe Word, and he has a husband or a boyfriend. I think it's like he's like a dom, kind of like Christoph, something like that. And I was watching a show where they were on it. And talking about like pony play, and he loves like the Christoph guy. He loves like doing the whole pony play thing. So that's the first. I'm sorry, I couldn't remember his name, but he popped out of my head.
There's no wrong answer. Okay, floggers.
Floggers. Something I want to try.
Okay, knife play.
Knife play. Knife play.
Knife.
Knife. Oh, Bella Thorne. She made a porn video. She directed the porn video. She's not actually in it. And in it, there is like a knife play scene.
Interesting. I gotta check that out.
I react to it on one of my videos.
All right. Wax play.
Wax play, belly dance.
Okay. Latex.
Latex. Condoms.
Chastity.
Chastity. Looking forward to trying.
Okay. The giving or getting?
Both.
Oh. Okay. The St. Andrew's Cross.
Iconic.
Okay. All right. Choking.
Where do I sign up?
Giving or getting?
The choking?
Yeah.
Getting.
Okay. All right.
But I like the choke too, so.
Mummification.
Mummification, hot, like hot. Sexy too, but oh my god, it was so hot in there. The minute I was cut out of the mummification when I did the video on it, I was like, oh my god, like it was just too hot. It was too hot.
Okay, splashing.
Splashing, penis cake.
All right.
It tasted good, by the way. A lot of people asked me if I ate it, and I took a couple of bites afterwards. It tasted good.
Okay.
It felt really weird too. Like it's almost like it goes up your butthole a little bit, but it makes your butt so soft that I was like, wow, my butt is so soft right now.
In like spas.
Yeah, they should.
Oh yeah, there should be kinky spas, and they should make a femdom workout video. That would be great.
I love that. That's a good idea. I'm shocked that there probably is.
All right, nipple clamps.
Nipple clamps. Ouch.
Okay, branding.
Branding. Extreme.
Hair pulling.
Hair pulling. Classic.
Straight jackets.
Straight jackets. Work.
Pet, especially when you're alone. Getting it on or just being in one when alone is difficult. Is work, yeah. So
I was thinking more of like I used to work in like a crisis center. So I was thinking more of that, but yeah, it must be a lot of work.
Yeah. You know my straight jacket stories.
Yeah.
So, all right. The 50s housewife dynamic.
50s housewife dynamic. A new type of femdom goddess that's been really popular lately.
Okay. Oh, really? Because
I get a lot of people talking about like them being usually like when they're telling me, and I'm actually incorporating that into the video because a lot of people will tell me like, I want to get into dominatrix or I want to get into like femdom. I like the idea of this, but like the whole like leather and like a big like bad bitch is just not for me. And they'll think like I kind of have that like that 50s kind of like rough mom type of thing. And a lot of people have been talking about that lately. So
Wow, that's it. Because I mean, maybe it was not. Maybe it was like premature for me to assume it, but I always thought that the 50 Housewives dynamic was like the good housewife.
Yeah. So it's like, the whole that look, that 50s housewife look, but like with like a hanger, that's gonna give you a spanking or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, that's a good up. See, we're learning things here. Okay. Pet play.
Pet play. Meow.
Okay. Masochists.
Masochist. Ooh. Masochist. Intriguing. Fisting. Rosebuds.
Okay. I don't
You don't know why?
No, I don't. Please tell me.
Oh, okay. So when you're getting after you get fisted, for some fist pigs out there, enjoy protruding their asshole, their butthole out.
Yeah.
Well, technically their insides out. And what happens is it comes out like a rosebud. It looks like a rosebud, so they call it like a rosebud.
Isn't that like a prolapsed anus?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's good to know. Yeah, rosebud. I'm gonna.
Yeah. For all you rose buddies out there.
That's good. All right, let's go to the jar. Fucking Tangle Blue. Tangle Blue, I love you. Underboob.
Underboob. Dominatrix?
Okay. Vulva sauce.
Vulva sauce. Fish taco.
Okay.
Kitten. Oh, my cat Buffy, who's laying over there.
I always say that if I ever have like an all black cat, I'm gonna name it soy sauce.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. All right. Cock.
Yum.
Safety.
Necessary. Important. Sexy.
Okay. Boing.
I think Final Cut Pro. It's a software I used to edit. So
yeah. Sweat.
An indicator of a good time in bed sometimes.
Yeah, that's cool. Sure. All right. Dick pics.
Never enough.
Okay. All right. Water sports or piss play?
Water sports or piss play. Isn't it the same thing?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like which I call it either?
No. Like just in general. They are the same thing. So like
right.
Yeah, piss
play. Golden showers.
Okay. Yeah, no, that works. Okay. And finally, scat.
2 girls, 1 cup.
Oh.
I can hear the music. Like it's like etched in my brain.
Okay, I think the reaction videos are actually funnier than the actual video.
Yeah. It also depends, like it might be funny for some people, it might be like drool worthy for others.
I'll watch anything. I've watched
it's a little hard to watch for personally. It's a little hard to watch. I remember when I was like, oh my god, I was like 16. I was definitely underage, and I was talking to some man online from Hawaii, and he like would ask me to, and this is kind of going back to telling you that I usually get worse questions from people and not like work related. But yeah, he asked me if I would like squat over his face and log in his mouth in Hawaii. If I were ever to do it, I guess it might as well be in Hawaii, but
it would be like if you fly me to Hawaii and like
there you go. Yeah, I'll take something in your mouth.
Oh shit right there. All right, before we get to the the plugs and wrap it up, friends and family, when it comes to, I mean, you are out as a kinky person. You are licensed. You will,
Mhm.
you know, like you're legit. You're an intellectual when it comes to, sexuality, and on top of that, you have your own YouTube channel all about it, and you've traveled around. You've talked to so many people, but not everybody, is kinky or just accepts it.
Right.
Accepts it. So how have your friends and family dealt with you being out, just in celebrating kink?
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of my parents don't speak English, so there's a language barrier there. But like I was featured in the Cosmopolitan magazine about like
Yeah.
male orgasms through nipples, and I was like, "Look, mom, I'm like in Cosmopolitan talking about like male nipples and stuff, you know." And I think there was one because what happens is they will run those stories in other outlets, so it will eventually get translated by some like other media department. And my parents were able to like read one of those. I was like, oh my god. They just think it's like they're just like, oh, ay Carlos, estás bien loco.
That's what, like, I don't like rub it in their face, but I'm pretty proud of what I've accomplished, and the people that I've connected with.
Yeah, I mean, they sometimes they love hearing about it. Like I love sometimes like things that I think might be like a little shocking to them. Like there's a sissy nursery in the UK, and I was showing them some videos of the humiliation that they have these grown men do, which is something that's so outside of the box for them. They're like, what? They're just so shocked by it. And I love seeing like those reactions.
Oh yeah, wait, is that Birch Place or Mrs. Silk?
No, I think it's like Amanda's Nursery or something like
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah, she makes, oh my gosh, and she has videos on YouTube, and they are hilarious. Like the way her humiliation and the public humiliation that they do, it's just amazing. It's amazing.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I do. Every once in a while, I just like text my brothers. I have two older brothers, and I just text my brothers like, "Oh, um, tonight I interviewed someone who talks about like making a shish kebab out of a person's testicles."
Little cock and ball torture. You know what's so funny about cock and ball torture is, and that is like one of the funny things I had to deal with being a psychotherapist and a sexologist, is that CBT, cock and ball torture, is very popular with like it's very popular kink, but CBT also stands for cognitive behavioral therapy. So sometimes where people will talk about like, oh, they need some CBT, I'm like laughing inside, thinking like, oh yeah, I agree. I think they do need some talking ball torture. If that doesn't cure their depression, I don't know what will.
Oh my God, that's golden. I did not think of that. Okay, but all right. Before we get to the plugs, I do want to ask you. You have heard. I don't want to say all, but almost all.
Yeah.
You've heard.
If anyone wants to challenge that, tell me all, please.
Yeah. So, all right. Humiliation was one thing that that you talked about. That was actually a personal kink of both giving and receiving. And so this question is, what is one of the most humiliating things you either did to somebody or experienced? And what is one of the most humiliating things that or that either you witnessed or that you know about?
I mean, I'm not too extreme. So, and with me, it's more like verbal humiliation.
Okay.
So, nothing that I can really like. Nothing like newsworthy. Nothing to write home about. But I do have one of my friends is a big fan of being a submissive piggy, and he had someone like pee all over him and wear that like piss on clothes to Chili's.
Oh my God.
I'm like, yeah. Like, wow, that is a whole other level of commitment. I gotta like
You know, I know a woman who's a dominatrix, and she took her sissy maid, who's locked in chastity, full on maid outfit, everything like
Love
that,
it.
in adult theater, right? And the adult theater it's in New Jersey. I'm not going to mention the name of the theater, but it's very well known for everybody just having sex with everybody, right? So she's in chastity with locking heels, everything like that. Lies her down, lies the sissy down on the table, and she's got a ball gag in her mouth, and the guys just like, I'm talking like maybe 10 men just jerking off and coming on her face. Right, it's coming on the, it's a male in a outfit, and then the sissy had to drive the person home, which is an hour away, with just the cum all over.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Okay. Oh my God, Carlos, this has been an absolute pleasure. I had
Agreed. Yeah, so much fun.
So please stay on after we're done, but take this time to promote anything and everything you want, whether it's your YouTube channel, your websites, your social media, if you're doing any appearances, anything. Go.
Right now, the main thing is my YouTube channel, on Ask Carlos. You can go over there, hang out with me every other Friday. I'll answer any of your questions. But also, I love hearing from all of you. So, if there's ever anything that you guys want to let me know about, or any kinks that you think that I should try, any topics for a video, anyone, if you want to be on my channel, hit me up. You can either do it in my comments on YouTube Ask Carlos, on Instagram or Twitter at Ask Carlos TV. I am in the process of writing my first book, which will be out at the end of the year. It's called The King for All Seasons. Really excited about that one. And in terms of appearances, I will be featured on the Sex with Dr. Jess blog, I think this coming week.
Wonderful. Okay, so check me out and all my wonderful guests on at yourkinkyfriends.com. And we have a Discord chat group, which is, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's very busy. Sometimes it's, kind of dead, but, just join in. We have a Facebook, it's called YKF. Feel free to message me, if you want to join, or just feel free to anybody. Just feel free to message me. I love talking with people in the community. Also, I'm on Twitter at Nicholas Tanek. There's also your kinky friends at Friends Kinky. Same thing with Instagram at Friends Kinky. And but Nick Tanek on Instagram. We're on FetLife at Your Kinky Friends, and we have a Patreon page which I don't promote. We're going
You are now.
we're going to have some unique content, especially with sex toys reviews.
Oh,
yeah. So, yeah, we got to talk about that off camera. So, yeah, and yeah, just reach out to me, and have a great weekend, everybody. And oh my God, it's getting late. My Dom is calling me. And remember the cardinal rule: be cool, be kind, and keep an open mind. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.
Bye.